It is estimated that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men will be affected by domestic abuse at some point in their lifetime.
Well, that equates to around 2 million cases every year. But today, the governments are taking action to try and better protect those victims.
Well, someone who knows what a big difference these changes could make is our next guest, Mel Clarke, and she joins us now to share her story. And thank you for coming in today. And a bill like this will make a huge difference, won't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, it's just taking things more seriously, you know. It's good to see the government taking things on board more. This has been going on for so long and it's increasingly becoming worse. So it will be really good to see what's to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're an actress and writer. 2013, your ex-partner was convicted of ABH. You're a single mum of 4, had 3 children with him. And you met when you were 14, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
He was 17.
Very young.
He moved just up the road from you.
Yeah.
And you say right from the word go, looking back, he was nasty from the start.
Yeah, from the very early stages of the relationship, my family wasn't happy. They didn't like him. My friends was very wary of him. He wanted to kind of control my thought process, the way I would think and feel, and the way I should respond to situations. He was controlling when it came to the clothes I wore. He would belittle me, always wanted to know where I was, constantly accusing me of cheating. He was just aggressive in general. I remember a time during a disagreement, he smashed a hammer at the glass in front of me. So he didn't actually put his hands on me at that particular time.
Yeah,
but
that came later.
The aggressive behaviour was early days.
And it wasn't just that also, because a lot of people don't kind of think of domestic abuse as being financial, and actually he didn't contribute financially in any way. And this new bill sort of legally defines economic control and manipulation as domestic abuse. Do you think if you'd have known that, if this bill had been in place and you'd have seen that in black and white as something the government has said, that it might have rung a bell with you sooner? Yeah,
I mean, you know, maybe I would have recognised it to actually be abuse, economic abuse, because I didn't even know what that was back then.
Yeah.
So it would have been good to know a bit more about it. Maybe I would have been a bit more aware. Whether it would have changed things at that time for me, I can't say.
Yeah.
When you were, I think you got pregnant at 19, didn't you? And that's when his behaviour changed considerably.
Yeah, it definitely escalated once I was pregnant.
In what way?
He would behave very confrontational, scream abuse at me, drag me, pull me. Yeah, it started that way, but it became worse once I had my son. It would be things like strangling, slamming my head into walls.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Kicking me, pushing me, threatening me. Yeah.
And with each pregnancy, it came a new wave of terror and it just continued to escalate. What was he like as a father? Because he was never violent with the children, but particularly your eldest, your son, was aware of what was going on. What impact did it have on him? Yeah,
it wasn't good for him, you know. It wasn't a good environment for him to be growing up in. And I used to feel very guilty about that when it was all happening. My eldest, I feel like it has had a big impact on him. And, you know, when you're in the situation, you don't really you blank it out, because for me, I walked with guilt. I felt like I'm their mum. It's my job to keep them safe and protected, and I was failing at that. So, yeah.
It's deeply saddening to hear that you are the victim of such horrific domestic abuse.
Yeah.
On every level, you're the one that feels guilt.
This is the thing. I mean, when you're a victim, you actually do feel guilty and you have nothing to be ashamed of or feel guilty for. But I think it's because you are allowing somebody to treat you in this way and you're not taking a stand and doing anything about it. It does make you feel bad about yourself, you know. You kind of lose all the fight in yourself to make a change in your life. But then you did find that fight, and I think it was sort of, you got to this breaking point. You were 5 months pregnant with your 3rd child. Yeah. And something happened and you just got out of there. So just explain how that happened. Yeah, I mean, he jumped on my back at 5 months pregnant and he choked me from behind. And he held on for so long that I actually started to lose the will to fight. And I thought I was going to die that day. And I thought, you know, what am I doing? You know, my children were upstairs crying, holding one another. and I was carrying a child that hadn't even entered this world yet into this type of environment.
Yeah.
And it just finally clicked. It was just like, what am I doing? I mean, it's not that I didn't see that the situation was toxic. I did see it, but I didn't feel like there was any way out. Every time I tried to leave him, he made my life hell. He would stalk me. And when you are emotionally brought down by somebody for such a long period of time, it's difficult to stand up and walk out of that situation. You have to be ready mentally.
Well, you did walk out, and you walked out into the arms of friends and family, and the police were very active. He was arrested. You have a lifetime restraining order against him. And of course, you also say, I don't think you necessarily needed the refuges, but the refuges are there if someone who is a victim needs them.
Yeah.
He was convicted of ABH in 2013 and was sentenced to 12 months probation and enrolled on a 36-day domestic abuse programme. You had to attend court when you were 8 months pregnant. You had to testify behind a screen so you couldn't hear or see your ex. The new bill now has got changes in place. It offers victims the opportunity to testify via video link. You feel yourself would have benefited from that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I would have been so happy if they had let me do a video about, you know, what had taken place, instead of having to stand up in court at 8 months pregnant. It's the most stressful situation. That pregnancy was awful. My health was so bad because, you know, the whole build-up to going to court, you could just imagine for a woman, especially somebody that's never been to court before, how awful that is. Then standing there, shaking, trying to explain all these awful things that have happened to you. So, I mean, if I was able to sit behind a video and just say how I felt and what was happening and go home, I would have definitely found that less stressful. So I'm really glad about that.
There are some critics who believe the bill should acknowledge that women make up the majority of cases and provide specific women's services for female victims. Adina Clare of the charity Women's Aid said, violence against women is rooted in gender inequality. It's essential that this is explicitly recognised in the domestic abuse bill. We know that a gender-neutral definition does not work for this highly gendered issue. What do you say to that?
I'm just glad that it's just come to light and it's just been discussed. I mean, once upon a time, it wasn't discussed at all. You know, the police would come to people's home and if it was happening, they just saw it as a domestic. So the times have changed and it's really good. There's people suffering.
What do you say to anybody watching you right now who may be thinking, that's me?
It's not going to be a fairy tale ending. If a man shows you abusive behaviour at the early stages of a relationship, you know, that's him showing you who he is. Believe him. You know, don't stay, because from my own experience, it's not going to improve. And I always say, whether you're with that person for a few months, a few years, or if you spent most of your life with that person, don't make that be the reason you stay, you know, because it's never too late to start again. It's never too late to turn it all around and be happy. And I am definitely happy in my life, doing really well. I've got a lot of great things going on. And I have myself to thank for that. There's nobody else that could have helped me but myself.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Well done.
Thank you.
Amazing.